The silence hangs heavy, thick like a mist, cloaking the empty studio in a somber haze. The musician sits alone, his eyes hollow, his hands weary, staring into the blurred reflection of himself on a fogged-up window. The face he sees is unfamiliar. Where passion once burned bright, now only a hollow emptiness remains, a faint echo of the fire that once made him feel alive. Inside, the music has lost its beat, and life feels like a scratched record, endlessly looping through mistakes, tripping over itself without ever finding a true, clear note. It's one of those nights when the world seems like an abandoned stage, the stars dimmed, swallowed by shadows that mute every melody. Quietly, he whispers to himself, "Why go on?" In this forgotten corner, every sliver of light fades, leaving only shadows. Shadows that dance with his doubts, with the fragmented, interrupted melody of his own spirit. And then, as if the universe responded to his silent plea, a figure appears in the dim corner of the studio, soft, like a distant memory. This presence doesn't demand attention. It simply radiates calm. It's Gene. His face is gentle, like a soothing chord that drifts in without rush, quietly filling the silence. There's something almost otherworldly in his gaze, a tranquility that wraps around the soul, like the first note of a melody that resonates deep within, even before it's fully heard. Gene doesn't speak at first. His presence is enough. The serenity he exudes whispers through the room, gently vibrating the worn-out strings of the musician's heart. That's when the realization hits. Perhaps life truly is like a playlist, but Gene has come to teach him a lesson, that to appreciate life fully, you must listen to every song, every pause, every discordant note. The musician doesn't realize it yet, but this is only the first chord of a new melody, a melody that only Gene can reveal, a path paved with acceptance and beauty, found in every moment, whether flawless or imperfect. Gene moves forward with the delicacy of a distant piano note, a melody that seems to almost disappear yet somehow fills the entire space. He doesn't speak right away. Instead, he lets the silence settle, like someone waiting for a song's harmony to reveal itself before explaining its beauty. The musician watches him, captivated, sensing that this unexpected figure carries an ancient, almost timeless wisdom, a presence that feels like an invisible guide, someone who understands life's sounds on frequencies he's never before encountered. "Did you know?" Gene finally begins, his voice soft but resonant. "That life is like a playlist." He lets the question linger, hanging in the air, as the musician's eyes widen with a mix of surprise and doubt. Gene's gaze sweeps around the room, as if he's seen beyond the walls, perceiving a soundtrack that stretches across existence itself. There are those songs we fall in love with from the first note. We play them until every beat is etched into memory, carrying them like anthems, milestones of who we are. And then he pauses. There are the songs we avoid, dissonant tracks filled with notes that grate on us, difficult to listen to, yet still part of our album, our complete life's composition. Gene pauses and, with a gentle smile, turns to the musician. If we try to skip all those irritating songs, we end up losing the entire story. Even uncomfortable sounds have their purpose. They teach us to appreciate the beauty of a pause, of dissonance. If we only chase after the hits, we end up confined within the same comforting moments, never allowing our soul the chance to grow. Something stirs within the musician's chest, an echo he hadn't noticed before, as if he's suddenly aware of a vast, invisible melody weaving through all the songs of his life. Gene, with his almost ethereal presence, becomes a guide, leading him through the hidden meaning in each track, like a conductor revealing the beauty that lies between the notes, illuminating the harmony hidden within the imperfections. "So, what do I need to do?" he whispers, his words barely audible, as if speaking both to himself and to Gene. Gene smiles, a gentle smile, one that feels like the quiet promise of a new beginning. Just listen. With all that you are, let each note, the sweet, the bitter, the bewildering, resonate and find its own rhythm. Your life's playlist isn't just a collection of hits. It's a composition where every detail, every sound, every silence reveals the soul that pulses behind the melody. In that instant, the musician feels a shift, a soft awakening. He begins to realize that perhaps there's no need to chase perfection in every sound. Perhaps the true beauty of life lies in embracing each track as part of a greater whole. One he may not fully understand, but one he's finally starting to feel. Gene appears suddenly, like the first chord of an unknown song that resonates deep within the soul before it's fully heard. He doesn't merely enter the space. He fills it with a calm so palpable it feels almost physical, like a gentle melody that catches us off guard and lingers, vibrating in the deepest corners of our being. His steps are soft, but they hold a quiet confidence, something the musician, lost in silent despair, no longer feels. The musician watches him, eyes lowered, as though respecting the gravity of a low note, waiting for the perfect moment to understand. Have you ever noticed, Gene begins, his voice smooth and rhythmic, how some songs never grow old, how they seem to harmonize with everything we go through? They become a part of us, a soundtrack that, after playing so many times, we end up carrying right here in our chests. He pauses, and the musician feels the depth of this simple truth, something he had somehow always known but never truly understood. But Gene continues, his gaze drifting as if listening to an invisible melody that only he can hear. There are other songs, the ones you'd rather skip, notes that fall out of tune, lyrics that sound wrong, moments too harsh to bear. Each of us carries a list of forgotten tracks, but they don't disappear. And if you stop to listen, you might find that these imperfect notes hold a value you've yet to see. The musician listens, absorbing Jin's words like a cord that unfurls, revealing layers he had never noticed. Gene is teaching him that every song, every experience, every pain, and every joy is essential to the whole symphony. Without those tracks we try to overlook, the playlist remains incomplete, just a sketch of who we truly are. So, Gene concludes, if you truly want peace, you have to stop picking only the hits in your life. Learn to listen to every note, every pause, every misstep. The songs you avoid, they're yours too. They are the silences, the lessons, the moments that build the harmony of your existence. The musician feels something shift within him, as if a weight has gently lifted. For the first time, he realizes that the meaning of his music in his life doesn't lie solely in the euphoric highs or the perfection of each note. It lies in the acceptance of every sound, every track that forms his entire album. And Gene, with his serene and almost otherworldly presence, helps him see that by embracing these imperfect notes, he can finally compose the most authentic song of all, the song of his own essence, without leaving a single melody unheard, without excluding a single tone. Gene gently places his hand on the musician's shoulder and, with a serene gaze, invites him on an unusual journey, a plunge into the already played tracks of his life. Each memory begins to unfold like a song, some vibrant and full of energy, others so quiet they feel like whispers of sadness that linger in the mind's deepest shadows. Gene guides him like a conductor leading an orchestra, knowing that both the soaring heights of the chords and the profound depths of the silences must be felt. They start with the intense songs, those that burst like fireworks, marking the brightest moments. The musician closes his eyes, and suddenly, he hears the carefree laughter of his youth, the applause that shows that once made him feel invincible, the opening chords of a song he composed the first time he fell in love. That melody still pulses in him, a chorus that sends a warm wave through his chest, so vivid it's as though he could reach out and touch the past. Gene watches, smiling softly, allowing him to fully immerse himself in these memories, savoring every detail like a flawless chord that resonates endlessly. But then, the notes shift. A new track begins, carrying a heavy, mournful melody, like rain falling on a cold night. It's a memory of loss, a pain he had long avoided, a deep disappointment that left a fracture inside him. The music sounds raw, almost bitter, and he feels an urge to skip ahead, to escape the discomfort. But Gene holds him in place, meeting his gaze with a steady look, urging him to stay and listen until the very end. "These notes," Gene whispers deeply, "are parts of you. Running from them is running from yourself." As they continue exploring the tracks of his life, the musician realizes that each song has its own texture. Some are easy to embrace, others hard to endure. Yet each one belongs. Each has a meaning he'd overlooked. The notes of suffering taught him resilience. The peaceful harmonies reminded him of the beauty in life's simplest moments. And even the silences, the times when the music paused, when life felt empty, took on significance when he looked back. In the end, Gene watches him with a knowing look, one that speaks of someone who understands the weight of each experience. Like a friend who would never judge, he leans in close and softly says, "Every song you've lived, the good and the bad, forms the story of who you are. All of them, woven together, create the complete symphony." At last, the musician understands. The true value of his playlist lies not in selecting only the hits, but in embracing every track, even the off-key, even the difficult ones. For it is this blend of light and shadow that gives life its beauty. As he accepts this truth, he feels the weight within him lift, transforming into music once again, a song that is his own, with all its depth and authenticity. Gene watches him with a gentle gaze, a quiet smile that holds a hint of ancient wisdom. His voice flows like a calm river, reaching the musician's soul as he offers one final lesson. Simple yet profound, resonating like the last note of an unforgettable melody. "Life," he says, "is an imperfect playlist, and it's precisely this imperfection that makes it beautiful. Just as a song that moves us doesn't need to be smooth or perfectly rhythmic, neither do we." The musician feels the weight of these words as if Gene had placed an invisible mirror before him, reflecting each note, each failure, and each triumph, all harmonizing with who he truly is. He realizes how much time he spent chasing success, trying to fill his personal album only with hits, forgetting to value the pauses, the dissonances, the unfinished songs that, though they never earned applause, were essential to his journey. Every mistake, every silence, every moment of doubt, all of it weaves together into the intricate symphony of his life. Gene continues, his voice light as a breeze yet sharp as a universal truth. Not all songs are meant to be remembered. Some are fleeting, brief moments that may not stand out, yet they shape us in subtle, essential ways. Finding peace means accepting these ups and downs, these rhythms that aren't always pleasing. Each track has its own time and place, its own purpose, even when, in the moment, it feels insignificant. The musician feels as though he's just woken from an old dream, an illusion that had kept him blind to what was right before him. With Gene by his side, he begins to see that his life has never been a mere sequence of successes or failures. It is instead a unique composition, a blend of light and shadow, of loud chords and quiet whispers, each note contributing to the larger, intricate picture of who he truly is. Finally, with a calmness he hasn't felt in ages, the musician turns to Gene and, for the first time, grasps the meaning of his entire journey. He realizes he no longer needs to resist the notes that clash or fear the pauses that break the melody. Each part, each dissonance, each silence is essential for the music to flow, allowing his soul to express itself freely, without filters, without the need for perfection. By embracing the imperfect harmony of his existence, he feels liberated, free to listen, to live, to create, fully at peace with all the music that composes him. Gene watches in silence, his presence growing light, almost ethereal, as if preparing to say goodbye, leaving the musician alone in a silence that no longer haunts him, but now feels like an open invitation. Gene's final lesson lingers, resonating deep in his heart like a profound melody. Life is a playlist where each track, each pause, each mistake weaves together to create the perfect harmony of who we are. In the soft shadows of the studio, the musician is alone, but this time a deep serenity fills the space, like a subtle chord lingering in the air. His fingers glide across the guitar, discovering a new melody, one that emerges from within, unhurried and free from any need to impress or succeed. He's no longer searching for a hit. He's seeking truth. And in this process of creation, each note takes on new meaning, an echo of the lessons Gene has left etched in his soul. He lets his emotions flow, each one surfacing in its pure form, without filters. The melody is simple, yet carries a quiet weight, a kind of gratitude for every high and low that has brought him to this moment. The song he composes becomes an ode to resilience, an acceptance of both light and shadow, a declaration of love for his own journey. It's a piece that doesn't fear silence, that welcomes dissonant chords. It celebrates the whole, embracing flaws as essential threads in the fabric of beauty. As the last note fades into silence, the musician finds himself smiling, almost involuntarily. It's a gentle smile, one that reflects the peace of someone who has finally realized their life doesn't need to be a flawless sequence of successes. He sets down his guitar, pulls on his headphones, and presses play on his playlist. But this time, he listens with fresh ears. The joyful tracks make him smile. The sorrowful ones bring tears. Yet he embraces each song, accepting them as part of a single album, a unified symphony. Each song now feels like a cherished chapter, and he no longer feels the need to rush to the next. He senses that every note, whether soft or piercing, joyful or mournful, is an essential part of who he is. And in that stillness, he understands that the true music of life isn't in isolated triumphs or applause, but in the quiet resilience that carries him forward, note by note, measure by measure. With this new understanding, the musician rises, ready to move forward. He now knows that the beauty of his journey lies in embracing each moment with an open heart. Without haste, without fear, with the serene acceptance of someone who has discovered harmony in imperfection. And as he steps out of the studio, he realizes that Gene, though invisible, remains with him. In the notes he now composes, in the quiet acceptance that every moment lived is, in itself, a melody. Now that you've come this far, let me ask you, what's in your life's playlist? Which songs do you revisit, and which ones do you avoid? Have you ever taken a moment to reflect on the notes that shape your story? Perhaps, like the musician in this tale, you too are searching for a deeper harmony, an understanding that transcends wins and losses. After all, true peace comes from embracing the complete melody of life, doesn't it? Are you ready to take this journey for peace and self-understanding even further? Explore our ebook, available in the first pinned comment. It offers simple practices and transformative reflections to incorporate into your daily life. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button to stay updated with more inspiring content. Share this story with someone who may be on a similar path of self-discovery. If this message resonates with you, there's more to explore. On screen, you'll find 2 videos chosen especially to help you dive deeper into your journey. Click on one and take the next step toward a more fulfilled and conscious life.